What's up, Scoop Podcast? I'm your host, Erica Crouppen, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about real money from scooping dog poop. We're going to talk about net. We're going to talk about gross, and we're going to talk about all the things in between. So if you are interested in hearing all about that, stay tuned. Before we get into today's episode, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me again. I know there's a lot of business podcasts out there for you to listen to, so I appreciate that you take the time out of your day to spend a little bit of time with me each and every single week. Now, I talk about money on the podcast. I don't really talk about finances too much because I'm not a specialist. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a money management specialist. I literally just learned how to create a personal budget for our family a couple months ago. So I don't necessarily feel super duper comfortable talking about this kind of stuff, but I do understand the basics. And I've gotten asked a lot of questions about how much you can make being a solo business owner versus how much you can make as you grow. It depends. It truly does depend. It just depends on how you have your business set up and how everything just kind of flows. And if you're a solo scooper versus you have people that you are employing, it depends on how many bells and whistles and knickknacks and all the technology you have within your business. So I kind of want to run through that. I want to talk about all of that kind of stuff. And I appreciate you taking the time to just be here with me and as we kind of work through this, because honestly, as I grow my business, I'm learning a lot too. And I'm learning, business is expensive and having employees is expensive and everything that goes along with that. If you're watching over on YouTube, you'll notice I took my headphones off. I hate wearing those headphones, and how I have my setup now, when I have the headphones on, I can hear the cord moving because I move a lot when I talk. And it was really frustrating. So I had to pause the recording so I could literally refocus. I do have some notes over here because like I said before, this topic is a little bit difficult for me. So I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the best information possible. A lot of my episodes, they kind of just roll off. They roll off my tongue because they come from the heart and their stories, but this is a little bit different. So let me go ahead. Let me grab my notes really quick while we're sitting here and chit-chatting. So the first thing that I want to cover is I want to really talk about the early days. Okay, when I first got started in business, it was me. I mean, my husband was helping me. I didn't know how much I was going to make, how little I was going to make. For those of you that have been following for quite some time, you know that I was charging $50 for spring cleans. And then for recurring service, I was charging $55 a month. It didn't matter the size of the yard. It didn't matter how many dogs. That's just what I was charging. And I was doing this job part-time because I was working at the hospital full-time. And my part-time compared to your part-time could be very different. It just depends on how many hours you're able to contribute. When you are scooping in the field 40 hours, you can do anywhere between 100 and 150 houses per week. So divide that by how many ever hours you're able to contribute to your business. And when I say why there's such a wide range is because it really depends on yard sizes. It depends on the travel time between each house. That is the travel time is such an issue for us. We spend half of our shift traveling. And I was noticing that in Jobber that I was like, man, there's 3.5, 4 hours of non-billable time, drive time. And I have been gearing up to have conversations with my staff, but I needed to get through some other stuff before I could really look through the information and really have some conversations about this. But then we had our customer appreciation delivery, and I had taken out I had taken out a lot of boxes, and I was just delivering to all the Monday houses on Charles's route. And I couldn't believe how much driving there was. Even though I was just dropping these boxes off, sending a quick text message, taking a picture and leaving, it still took me 4 hours. And so that tracks. That tracks with the amount of drive time we have between the two houses. And I was thinking that I had pretty decent route density. We have a lot of room for improvement. And so half the time is spent scooping. The other half is just spent driving. So let's say that you are, for the sake of this podcast, we're going to say that a customer is paying you $100 $100 a month for recurring service. Okay. Let's just base it off that. It could be a bi-weekly service. It could be a weekly service. Each market is different. Each person is charging different. There's no standardizing this. It's every market is different. Okay. So I'm just going to base it off $100 a month. In the comments, you might be like, well, what if there's 5 visits per month? I don't care. It's $100 a month. That's what I'm charging. And I have 100 customers, reoccurring customers that we're servicing per week. We're looking at $10,000 a month that's coming in top line revenue. That's over $100,000 a year. That's what, $120,000 a year. So boom, you have a 6-figure business right there full time. And that's like low on the full time. You could still, for the most part, you could still do another 25 houses, up to 150 houses if you get that routing tight. Now I can see why we can only do 125 houses max per technician, because our routing just needs so much more improvements. That time really adds up when there's 5 to 7 minutes in between each house, which is, I don't know why it just blew my mind when I was out there, but I said, oh, goodness, we got a lot of work to do. And this is real money. This is real money that people are paying you. Now, when I say that you're making $120,000, your business is bringing in $120,000 in reoccurring revenue. If you have 100 customers, they're paying you $100 a month. That's what we're basing it off of. That's not what you are making. That's not what your business is making. It's profiting. That is your top line. That is your gross income. So when you hear somebody say, what is your business gross? That means what is it bringing in before anything is being taken out of it? Okay. This is very important because now we're going to get to net. So when we get to your net profit, this is when everything and everyone has been paid. I'm going to repeat this. Your net profit, when everything and everyone has been paid within your business. And that is including you yourself as the owner. You have to be paying yourself something, anything. And this is going to vary depending on how active you are in the business, how much you're bringing in, how lean you're able to run your business. I will say when I was active in the business, I was out there scooping. That's when I was making the most money. My business is not run super lean right now. It is very top heavy, I guess you could say, because I have 2 scoopers out there that are out there scooping. I have a virtual assistant that I'm training to do the work in the office that realistically I could or should be doing, but I wouldn't even really say should. It's just I could be doing it, but I don't want to do it. I want to be working on other stuff, such as my media business, such as She Built That. I don't enjoy just being in the office. It does not bring joy in my heart. So I'm training that out. Does that mean that less money is coming into my household from Croopin' Spoopin' Scoopin'? Absolutely. But this is where you have to figure out how much you need to pay yourself and how you're going to figure that out. So say, for instance, you know that you need to bring in $1,000 a week because you need to take that home. You need to pay yourself $1,000 a week to cover your household bills. This way, your household isn't dipping into the business. You have to allocate that. How much do you need to work in the business to be able to pay yourself that $1,000? What do you have left over after that to hire other things out? Other things, when I say things, let's get more specific when we talk about things. We're going to talk about it's gas, it's supplies, it's insurance, it's software, it's inconveniences with the vehicles themselves, any type of sponsorships, any type of advertisement, anything that can take money out of the business, it goes into this category. And a lot of people mix up paying themselves because they're the owner, and they mix that up. They think that they should get paid with a profit. No, that's not how that works. And I don't know how to exactly explain it and articulate it. I need to get an accountant on here that can actually describe this to you. But if you have not had the opportunity yet, I would like for you to go read the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. He also wrote the book, I believe it's called The Pumpkin Patch and The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. But we recently just read the book Profit First in my She Built That community. And it's really interesting where he has 5 different bank accounts and he talks about profit first. You got to put money away first. You have to plan for this because a lot of business owners at the end of the year, like, oh, what profit is left over? No profit's ever left over. The money always goes somewhere. So you have to plan accordingly. But let's refocus, Erica. So we have our gross. That's how much money the business is bringing in. And then we have our net profit. This is after everyone and everything has been paid. What is left over? Are you running at a 20% profit? Are you running at a 15% profit? 35, 55, 50% profit. I don't know what I'm running at this year. I could let you know at the end of the year. Last year was not good for me. With the vehicle accidents and spending too much money on advertisement, we were very low with our profit margins. Very low. Some years be like that though. Some years you reinvest back into the business, everything that you can. And some years you can take a profit and you can give distributions and you can take more money. And a good friend of mine was just telling me, my friend Faylene, she not only is a member of the church that I go to, but she's also in my female community over on school. During our Wednesday coffee chat, she's an accountant, but she was saying that she gives herself a raise when she gives her employees a raise. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. She also gives herself a raise because she is an employee of the business. I'm also an employee of my business because once you hit $50,000 in revenue, at least for me, my accountant was like, hey, you need to switch over to an S Corp. Like you're an LLC right now, but you need to switch over to an S Corp, like an LLC that files as an S Corp. You become an employee of your business. You get a paycheck like everybody else. You get your taxes taken out like everybody else in your company. And then that way it balances things out at the end of the year when it comes to tax time. And I was like, that's a really good idea. I should give myself a profit or I give myself a raise. But I've been guilty of this too, where I'm like, I don't really need to have that money. I can just reinvest it back into the business. I can just spend it somewhere. And this is something I'm really working on doing because it's not fair to my household. It's not fair to my husband because this business will literally suck up everything and anything because there's so much opportunity to reinvest and do different things and donate here and donate there. But you have to put boundaries in place because if not, this business will take over your life and all of your money. All right. We have that figured out. You got a good understanding that gross is what your business is bringing in. Net profit is after everyone and everything is paid for, including yourself as the business owner. And you get to choose what you're going to pay yourself. Now, what impacts the profit the most? Payroll. Payroll is a really big one for me. I'm very heavy in payroll, I would have to say. My route efficiency, I've realized, is a huge factor. I need to get my routes a lot tighter. Marketing. My accountant told me that my marketing is way too high for our conversions. So that's something that we really had to work on and tighten up a lot. And then that comes into like your overhead and stuff. So it's, how much are you spending on fuel? How much are you spending on insurance, uniforms, payroll taxes, marketing? They all eat up your bottom line. But for me, my heaviest is my payroll and my marketing expenses. Everything else to run this business is pretty simple. Also, vehicle payments. Those can really eat up a lot of your profit. I was really heavy in vehicle payments last year because of the decisions that I had made. If you've been following the podcast, you already know those decisions. I really got to leave that stuff in the past. I don't want to keep bringing up reopening old wounds. But yeah, that will definitely eat up your profit. And then going to like the gas station, like what is it? Meals and entertainment. I've been guilty of this. I go to the gas station and I'm like, well, I'm working. I'm just going to pay for my food with my business card because it should be a tax write-off. Meals and entertainment. I'll tell you what, when I was in the field and I was spending a lot of money on meals and entertainment, and that was a pretty big budget line. You know what else was big? My waistline was big. The scale was up. I was much larger because on the road food is packed full of calories and fat and steals money away from your bank account. Pack your lunch. What else? What else do we have? Your pricing will also reflect how much you're going to have at the end of the year. But I will say that if you don't have your budget in order, it doesn't matter what your pricing is. It's still super difficult to have money left over if you're just spending more than you make. Okay. But your pricing needs to reflect yard size, like how long it's taking in these yards. It needs to reflect all of that. So if you have a lot of larger yards, maybe you're doing less. Like maybe you're only doing 15 houses a day because they're much larger. But are you charging appropriately for that? Industry standard, the target man hour rate is $60 an hour. So if you're only able to scoop 2 houses an hour because of their size, you should be charging them each house $30. Let's say $30 for each service. So then you're hitting that $60 an hour man hour rate. Now, listen, I know everybody's got their own opinion. I'm just giving you some examples here, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. Let's talk about profit margins. When you're a solo scooper, a lot of times your profits are going to be higher. So you could easily be running at a 50% profit margin or a little bit higher. I know that I was for sure because everything was just so simple. Everything was so cheap, but it was so much manual work. So yes, I was bringing more money in, but I was just spending so many hours that it became really, really stressful and felt like it was almost not worth it at that time. And because I figured stuff out, I've bought my time back, my margins are a lot lower. And like I had said earlier, my business is not run super lean right now. I need work, but you can run at a 25, 35, 45% profit margin, depending on how heavy you are with payroll, how heavy you are with insurance, with car payments, and what you're spending into marketing. Because those are the top money suckers. So it's usually around like 25 to 35% profit margin after everyone and everybody is paid. And I also want to talk about being successful. Like, I want you to think about this. What does success mean to you? What is your end goal with your business? Why are you getting into this? If you're just getting started, I feel like your goal is going to change from when you first get started versus 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. For me, I wanted to make just enough to replace my hospital income, have retirement, and be able to provide health insurance. Those were my main goals. That's what I really wanted because I really truly wanted to get out of the hospital. And when that happened, I left. And I really struggled for a while because I didn't know like what was the next goal. I'm not really too sure. I just wanted to leave the hospital. And I've been kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, is it $1 million? Is it a $500,000 in revenue? Like, why? What I would really enjoy, I would like to have $150,000 clear. Like, that's my pay without me having to be in the business at all, where it's just kind of running and operating. Like, I could just leave. Like, I could just leave, go on vacation with my husband, not participate in it whatsoever for like 2 weeks and still make or clear $150,000. That's what I would really, really like. And then my time is spent elsewhere. KPS Media, building She Built That, maybe going on like doing like a ministry, a missions trip. Like I would love to go and do a missions trip for the church, but still make $150,000 a year in my bank account. That would be amazing. So I want you to kind of think about that because we hit different goals as we move throughout business and we all have our different experiences. So really, really focus and really think about that. Like, what's the first goal? What's the second goal? Because this is what's going to push you as you grow in business. Because it's really easy to get comfortable once you've hit your goal. You're like, okay, well, and I've really been going through a different journey recently, a spiritual journey with my faith. Me by myself, like I make okay decisions, but I mean, I've made some decisions that aren't so good. And what I'm really learning is like the Lord really wants you to be a good steward of your money. He truly does. And when my husband and I decided to make some really difficult decisions with how we were spending our money and the debt that we were going to eliminate, when we decided to do that and really come together and make those difficult decisions, it just seems like God was blessing us so much. Like He was already blessing us, but we were blocking our blessings. I had a financial advisor that provided us an Excel spreadsheet to budget. I've had this spreadsheet for probably a couple years. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I couldn't sit down to focus. But I'll tell you, as soon as we started following what the Lord was telling us to do, it became so clear how to budget, how to read the Excel spreadsheet. And I was just super excited to present this to our financial advisor. And he was like, great job, you guys. I'm like, I know. Thank you so much. Pat on the back. It's just little things like that. When you look at it in the big picture and try not to be so selfish, there's so much opportunity there. And as you grow your business and as you're making more money, you're able to bless more people. And that's what we're really focusing on is we don't want to live with both hands full. And this church that we used to attend years ago, Pastor Jason said that to us. He said, when you have both hands full, you can't give and you can't receive. When you have both hands full, you can't give and you can't receive. Think about that. Let that sink into your head. When he said that I think about it often. I think about it as I go through life, and each season of life it hits me differently, and I always revisit that sermon. I don't remember any other sermons that he presented. I remember nothing else. That is the only one I remember from him. It's very similar to if you have both your hands full, you can't when you get out of the car, how are you going to get into the house? How are you going to open up that door? So think about that, okay? And faith might not be your journey. Following the Lord might not be your journey. But it just so happens that's my journey, and that's what I'm talking about. And if that is your journey, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad we get to talk about this. And if it's not, and it's something that you're curious about, I would love to have a conversation with you. Because I will tell you this, if Paul Jameson wouldn't have had the conversations that he had with me when we were in Vegas by the pool, my life could be very different right now. But Paul took the time to ask me questions and answer the questions that I had and disciple to me. And it was literally a life changing experience for me. And I came home and I made a lot of changes. And because of that, my life has changed and many other people's lives around me have changed. Relationships have gotten deeper, have gotten better. Relationships that I shouldn't have are no longer, and that's okay. And to wrap up this podcast, kind of bring it all for full circle is when you're just getting started in business, remember you don't know what you don't know. It takes time to figure this stuff out. But here's what's important. If you have not started yet and you've just been thinking about the business, please just get started. You're going to figure out, it's like on the job training. You're going to figure it out. You're going to get beat up a little bit. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to get some bad wounds, but that's what's going to allow you to grow as a business owner. This is where you're going to grow as a person. I have grown so much. There's been so much personal development that has happened. And the tougher years in business, like last year, has caused me to grow tremendously. And it was painful, and you go through those growing pains, but you need to go through those. And you also have to learn stuff along the way. And you need to reach out to people. If accounting isn't your jam and you don't understand numbers, get a team, get somebody that can help you. When I first started, I got a local accountant. It's somebody that I could afford. And then when I made a little bit more money, I found another one. And now we're using Cycle CPA, which I'll include a link down below. If you want to check out Cycle CPA, please do. They will take excellent care of you. They give you reports and benchmarks, and they do quarterly check-ins. They balance my QuickBooks. They have conversations with me like, why are you spending so much money? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. You're looking at my books. And he's like, hey, you're spending too much money on marketing. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting it figured out. But I appreciate you. So I want you to think about all of this. I don't want you to beat yourself up. I want you to make sure that you're paying yourself. And this is a reminder to me. I have to make sure that I'm paying myself, that I'm not taking from my household, which I'm very, very guilty of. Right now, I quit giving myself a paycheck because I want to reinvest back into the business with marketing. I want to put more money into ads, but I'm just doing that until December. And then I'm going to start cutting myself a paycheck again. Because I have to do that because my husband will be laid off in December. So it's a nice little balance. While he's working right now, he's taking care of holding it down, and then I will come in and help out. So your situation's going to be different. You got to really sit down and look at what your situation is. If you have to take the money and you need to take the money, you should take the money. Look at your household bills, look at what you need to take, and make sure you're doing that and you're paying yourself. And then remember, gross is what your business is bringing in. And your net profit is what you have after everything and everyone is paid, including yourself. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you could, down in the comments, let me know what your goal is. What's your first revenue goal if you're just getting started in business? And if you've been in business for a little while, I want to know, what do you want your 2026 revenue goal to be? You write that down in the comments and I will let you know what I want mine to be. So I really, really appreciate it. If you're hanging out on YouTube and you want to continue the fun, I want you to go ahead and check this video out. That is how I price my pooper scooper services. Thank you for hanging out with me. And until next time, bye.